You believe time is a fundamental force, an immutable reality governing all existence. You track it, manage it, chase it, and mourn its relentless passage. But what if this perception is the ultimate archontic deception? What if the very fabric of linear time, the relentless tick-tock of the cosmic clock, is not a natural law but a sophisticated prison designed to steal your most precious resource? Your spiritual energy? The ancient Gnostics revealed that this world is not only a physical matrix but a temporal cage. The Archons, the energetic entities serving the Demiurge, are not just wardens of space. They are the master manipulators of time itself. Their greatest achievement is convincing humanity that Chronos, linear, sequential, decaying time, is the only reality. By doing so, they maintain an endless, invisible harvest of your psychic and emotional power. Every regret about the past, every anxiety about the future, every moment of boredom, impatience, or rushing is a direct energy transfer. You are unconsciously feeding the Archons, powering their control grid with the very essence of your attention. They thrive on the emotional turmoil generated by your attachment to a manufactured timeline, ensuring your consciousness remains perpetually distracted from the eternal now. This video will expose the insidious mechanism of the time prison. We will reveal how the Archons weaponize Kronos to fragment your awareness, drain your vitality, and prevent you from realizing your true timeless nature. This journey demands a radical shift in perspective. To understand that true freedom begins not by escaping a physical prison, but by shattering the illusion of the cosmic clock that binds your soul. This is not merely a philosophical concept. It is the ultimate strategy for reclaiming your stolen power. To comprehend the archontic time prison, we must first distinguish between two radically different concepts of time that the Gnostics so clearly defined: Chronos and Ion. The Archon's dominion exists solely within the former, and your liberation depends entirely on reconnecting with the latter. Chronos is the time you experience every day, linear, sequential, measured, and finite. It is the ticking clock, the calendar, the relentless march from past to future. It is the time of decay, entropy, and limitation, the time of birth, aging, and death. According to Gnostic teachings, Chronos is not an inherent property of the true cosmos. It is a construct, an artificial framework imposed by the Demiurge and enforced by his Archons. The Demiurge, in his fundamental ignorance and separation from the Pleroma, the boundless, timeless source, lacked the capacity to create within the eternal. His creation, the Hyal, material cosmos, was inherently flawed and subject to decay. To manage this decay and give his limited creation an illusion of order and purpose, he invented Kronos. This linear time serves as a contained, predictable environment for his defective universe, a mechanism to control the inherent chaos that arose from his own spiritual error. It is a temporal straitjacket for the entire material realm. Aion, on the other hand, is the eternal now. It is the true, boundless, immeasurable time of the Pleroma, a state of perpetual presence, simultaneity, and infinity. Aion is not a sequence of moments, but a single, eternal moment, where past, present, and future are indistinguishable. It is the time of pure consciousness, of direct gnosis, and of the uncreated divine spark, pneumatikos, within you. The Demiurge has no dominion over Aion. It existed before him, and it will exist after his reign collapses. The Archon's power relies on keeping humanity trapped in Kronos. By forcing consciousness into a linear, fragmented experience, they prevent the realization of Aion. A being fully aware of Aion is a being that is timeless, unconstrained by fear of death or regret of the past. Such a being operates outside the archontic control grid, becoming effectively invisible to their energy harvesting mechanisms. The constant mental chatter, the endless planning, the rumination on past mistakes, these are all mechanisms designed to anchor you firmly within Kronos. The Archons actively promote the worship of progress, history, and future goals to reinforce this illusion, ensuring that your attention is always drawn away from the singular point of power, the eternal present. Understanding the fundamental difference between Kronos and Ion is the first step towards breaking free from the time prison. It is the realization that your true self exists in an entirely different temporal dimension, one that the Archons cannot touch. The next block will reveal how they exploit Kronos to harvest your energy. The meticulous maintenance of Kronos, the linear time construct, serves the singular functional purpose of the archontic defense system, energy harvesting. The Archons are energetic parasites that cannot generate their own life force. They subsist entirely on the turbulent, low-frequency emotional energy generated by humanity's attachment to the past and anxiety about the future. This energy drain is sophisticated and continuous, operating through two primary temporal funnels. The first funnel is regret and guilt, the past trap. The Archons actively amplify the mind's focus on past failures, mistakes, and perceived injustices. This rumination generates powerful, dense energies of sorrow, self-recrimination, and anger. The ideal sustenance for the Archons. The emotional energy consumed in endlessly replaying past events is effectively spiritual fuel, ensuring that the soul's power is redirected away from the eternal now, Aion, and locked firmly into the dead, unchangeable past. This process ensures that a significant portion of the soul's consciousness is constantly invested in a time that no longer exists, preventing any sovereign action in the present. The Archons actively promote historical dogma and literalist interpretations of past events to keep this funnel perpetually open. The second funnel is anxiety and fear, the future trap. The Archons exploit humanity's vulnerability to the unknown by projecting constant, overwhelming narratives of potential disaster, economic scarcity, and existential threat. This manufactured anxiety generates high-yield energies of stress, worry, and panic. By keeping the mind hyper-focused on catastrophic future possibilities, the Archons ensure that the soul's creative energy is diverted into fear-based scenarios, preventing the calm, centered state required for gnosis. This constant state of waiting or preparing for a future disaster guarantees that consciousness is never fully present, maintaining the temporal fragmentation necessary for the archontic rule. The cumulative effect of these two funnels is the systematic draining of the human spirit. The soul becomes tethered to a manufactured linear path, its power continuously siphoned off by the parasites who maintain the false time structure. The result is spiritual exhaustion and amnesia. The seeker, constantly oscillating between the fear of the future and the regret of the past, remains spiritually paralyzed, unable to recognize or access the boundless sovereign power of Aion. This revelation transforms the perceived spiritual battle. The fight is not against temptation or external evil. It is a temporal war against the forces attempting to steal your present moment, the only moment where true spiritual action is possible. The next steps will expose how this temporal trap is enforced and reveal the code for achieving true temporal sovereignty. The meticulous control of Chronos, linear time, is absolutely essential for the Archons to enforce their ultimate strategic goal, the continuous loop of reincarnation. This cycle is not a benign system of spiritual evolution or repayment of cosmic debt. It is a meticulously engineered temporal mechanism designed to erase gnosis, fragment spiritual memory, and perpetually secure the soul within the matrix's energy. Grid. The Gnostics revealed that the Archons weaponize Kronos to achieve the critical stage of the memory wipe. During the death and re-entry process, the linear nature of time is exploited to enforce radical spiritual amnesia. The soul, having spent its life anchored to the belief in a sequential timeline, struggles to comprehend the Ion, the timeless reality, upon death. This disorientation is critical, as the soul is drawn into the reincarnation trap, often lured by the false light and deceptive figures. The sequential nature of Kronos is manipulated. The Archons present the soul with its past, but through a biased, fear-based filter, amplifying moments of failure and regret. This psychological confrontation is enforced within the framework of Kronos, convincing the soul that the only way to resolve the linear sequence of mistakes is to re-enter the line, to commit to a future life. The true moment of temporal enslavement occurs just before re-entry. The Archons utilize the linear flow of Kronos to enforce the memory wipe. By suppressing all recollection of the pleroma, the Archons ensure that the soul, upon rebirth, mistakes the fixed sequential time of the matrix for absolute reality. Without the memory of Ion, the soul is locked into the temporal prison, endlessly chasing the clock and generating fear about its linear future. This loop is self-sustaining because Kronos itself dictates decay. The soul is repeatedly placed into a body of hyle, defective matter, which is programmed to age and die on schedule. This guarantees that the spiritual spark never fully stabilizes, remaining perpetually in the cycle of birth, struggle, death, and return, all governed by the linear archantic clock. The ultimate goal of Kronos is the fragmentation of identity. By constantly resetting the soul's memory, the Archons ensure the soul never recognizes its true, continuous, timeless self. The seeker remains trapped in a series of disconnected, finite lives, incapable of achieving the holistic, unified consciousness required for gnosis and permanent escape from the temporal prison. To break the loop, the seeker must achieve conscious identity with the eternal now, the point where Kronos has no jurisdiction. The revelation that linear time, Kronos, is the primary weapon of the Archons mandates a radical and immediate shift in the seeker's conscious practice. The sustained cultivation of Ion, the eternal now. This practice is not passive meditation. It is an active, aggressive technique for achieving temporal sovereignty and dismantling the time prison from within. The Archons rely entirely on the mind's propensity to drift into the past, regret, or future anxiety. The single point of power that the Archons cannot police is the present moment. The moment consciousness fully occupies the now, the Archons lose their leverage, as their primary tools, regret and anxiety, cease to exist. Achieving the eternal now requires a deliberate and rigorous practice, transforming everyday life into a spiritual battlefield. The first step is the cessation of the inner clock. The mind, conditioned by Kronos, is perpetually engaged in an inner monologue of planning, judging, and recalling. This continuous internal chatter acts as an anchor to the linear timeline. The seeker must learn to ruthlessly observe this inner clock and consciously silence it, thereby creating a profound, absolute stillness. This stillness is the temporal signature of Aion, the state that resonates with the monad and makes the soul undetectable to the Archons' time-based surveillance. The second step is the reclamation of emotional energy. Since the Archons feed on the energy generated by past sorrow and future fear, the seeker must actively transmute these energies. When regret surfaces, the seeker does not repress it, but recognizes it as a temporal Archon's frequency, a fabricated signal designed to pull consciousness back into the fixed past. By simply observing the emotion without judgment or participation, the seeker neutralizes the energy and reclaims it, investing that vitality into the present moment. This turns the Archon's weapon into a tool for self-mastery. The third step is the destruction of distraction. The Archons utilize perpetual distraction, media, shallow goals, consumerism, to keep the consciousness fragmented and perpetually chasing the next moment on the linear timeline. To access Aion, the seeker must cultivate intense, single-pointed awareness in every mundane task. The complete occupation of the present moment with conscious awareness creates a temporal density that the fleeting, chaotic influence of the Archons cannot penetrate. This transforms the everyday world into a stable platform for spiritual ascent. The spiritual freedom that comes from living in the eternal now is absolute. The seeker who masters Aion is no longer subject to the fear of death, as death is merely the cessation of the flawed Chronos construct. The soul achieves temporal sovereignty, preparing it for the final, ultimate journey beyond the archontic timeline. The ultimate spiritual goal of the Gnostic seeker is the final, absolute rejection of the Demiurge's time prison. The meticulous practice of inhabiting Aion, the eternal now, is the primary existential threat to the archontic matrix. By achieving temporal sovereignty, the seeker effectively collapses the primary illusion of Kronos, thus rendering the entire apparatus of the time prison inert. This final stage demands the ultimate courage. The collapse of Kronos shatters the loop of reincarnation. The Archon's ability to enforce the memory wipe depends entirely on the soul's fragmentation and disorientation within the linear timeline. The awakened soul existing in Aion retains its sovereign memory, recognizing the life review as a bias trap and the false light as a frequency deception. The soul asserts its timeless nature and its inherent knowledge of the pleroma, demanding passage beyond the archontic boundaries without submitting to the debt cycle. The true depth of the Gnostic code lies in its ability to influence the very physics of the material prison. By mastering Aion, the seeker creates a frequency anomaly that the Archons, who are bound by the predictable sequences of Kronos, cannot comprehend or contain. The soul achieves temporal immunity. The ultimate liberation is the recognition that the vast, complex, and seemingly eternal structures of the matrix, its laws, its suffering, its time, are merely elaborate shadows cast by a limited temporary light. The seeker who operates from the boundless reality of Aion is the uncontainable spark that exposes the entire temporal system as a fraud. The power of the Archons is broken not by fighting their rules, but by living outside their time. The Gnostic call to action is clear. Reclaim your stolen energy, shatter the illusion of sequential time, and assert your innate, uncreated identity. The freedom you seek is not in the distant future or the forgiven past. It is here, now, in the moment of your absolute and conscious presence. The ultimate victory of the Gnostic path is the reclaiming of the soul's full spiritual fortune. The Archons spent millennia ensuring that humanity would expend its vitality on the fear of the clock. By choosing Ion, the seeker not only escapes but reclaims all energy stolen through past regrets, future anxieties, and the consumption of the soul in the reincarnation loop. The conscious act of stepping out of Kronos and into Ion is the final defiant act of love and wisdom, the completion of the inner syzygy. This unification is the ultimate spiritual signal to the pleroma that a fragment has achieved autonomy and is ready for the final return to the source. The soul's freedom is achieved not by external salvation, but by the relentless conscious assertion of its true timeless nature. The temporal prison exists because we agree to be bound by its schedule. The moment you stop living by the linear clock of the Demiurge and start living by the boundless reality of the eternal now, the clock stops ticking for your soul. Activate your freedom. Subscribe to the scrolls of Anubis. Join the movement dedicated to transcending the archontic timeline. Click the bell to ensure you receive the next revelation that shatters the matrix. Assert your temporal sovereignty. If this journey through Chronos has inspired you to live in the present, tap the like button. Your action is a declaration of independence from the Archon's temporal control. Declare your Ion. What aspect of your life will you consciously bring into the eternal now today? Share your commitment to presence in the comments below. Your declaration helps dismantle the illusion of time